Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, I'm here to answer a request on how to budget bills, or how I do it anyway. I did a video years ago and it's out there somewhere, but it's not a bad idea to redo it because, you know, through the years, our regular bills keep changing as we eliminate some things and so on and so forth. But what I'm going to share with you is just very simple. It's something I've been doing since I left home and went to college, since before then. Once I had a job and I started trying to say, okay, this is how much money I'm getting. And, you know, I've got these bills I need to pay. And obviously when I was living at home, I didn't have a whole lot of bills. And so I started learning to budget, but especially once I left home and went on to college, and then we had our own phone in our room. So we had a phone bill. I had my monthly payment to the college to pay for my classes and various other types of things like that. And then when I moved after college, when I moved into an apartment with a couple other ladies, well, then there was even more bills to add to it because now we had, you know, our utility payments and stuff like that and the rent payment. I found that to keep me on track, it was always best for me to keep some kind of list. And it's something I've done ever since. I've never stopped keeping a list. Now, what I have here is, I have this little book, and this is actually what I use as my check registry because I don't write very many actual physical checks anymore. So to me, it's just easier to keep it in here because I keep all my bill related stuff in here. And then right here, there's this little pocket, and I keep this little pad of paper that I have pre-printed. So I take like a regular sheet of printer paper, and then I have this copied 4 times within that one piece, and then I just print that off and cut it into 4 smaller pieces like this. Right here on this side are our list of regular bills, and you can see there's not much there. I have CenturyLink, which is our internet, then I have our phones, which currently is T-Mobile, and then the PUD, that would be our public power, because yes, even though we have solar, we're also on public power. We still, even though we collect rainwater, we still are on city water because we utilize both in both of those. And then fuel, savings, groceries, Visa. So because we use our credit card to pay a lot of things with, because we get 2% back, and then we pay the credit card off like every 2 weeks. Sometimes every week, just depends on if it's on my mind or not, but definitely gets paid off before any interest gets accrued. So we've never paid interest on this. We've done nothing but make money off of our Visa card. And then just miscellaneous. And then I have all this space here where I can write in extra things that come up, like, you know, when you own your own business, quarterlies or something, you have to pay in your estimated quarterlies every few months. So I usually will write that in. And then twice a year, we got to pay our auto insurance, and I just pay it in one bulk sum. Because when you do that, you usually get discounts, at least ours does. We get a discount by paying for it all right up front rather than making monthly payments. Even though I have a couple of these amounts written in here that are, you know, just typed in there that are always there, I leave these blank because these change. Because like for these two, the public utility, you know, the public power and the city water, these are things that I can skip for months if I want to, because I'm always a year ahead. And so that's why I leave it blank. Sometimes I may pay more, sometimes I may pay less. I have a set amount I typically will pay just to keep us ahead by that much. But those bills are pretty low considering the fact that we have solar power and we do collect rainwater and utilize that. And then same thing with groceries, and then savings, and, you know, how much money I want to set aside for savings. And then this is just where I keep track of, okay, this is a Visa payment that I just made. What happens over here is this would be where I put the money in checking that is not, we don't have a separate savings account. We just have it all in one account. But I always keep track of how much money is in checking that is for bills only, and the rest is for savings. So even though I have savings here, I usually don't put anything here these days because that would be, you know, if I'm going to put extra money in there, but usually it's just whatever I don't specifically have set aside for bills. And then here I've got, you know, because I get paid, not very much these days especially, but I do make some money off of Amazon because whenever I share Amazon links, that's, you know, and some people like to go through our Amazon links to help support us a little bit. So it's funny, I should just take that off there because a lot of times I just don't even count that. So my major YouTube is where I make most of my money. And then, the products that we sell, we make a little money here. And that's usually just kind of considered as extra income. And so there's just a lot of these little dribs and drabs kind of money that comes in from different affiliates and Patreon and whatnot that I don't keep track of all of that. To me, that's just like, oh, wow, look, we got this much more money in here that we can save, because I don't try to rely on those. And this is why I think I should probably remove the Amazon. I probably eventually am not going to be able to rely on YouTube either, with the way they've been keeping me throttled back so I can only make X amount of dollars no matter how big my channel gets. But then right here, this is where I total up the amount of money I can spend on bills, on anything over here, and anything extra. And then this would be the total of the bills, and then I subtract this from that and then come up with my balance. And I always try to have a set number left over in the balance as backup, where I don't want to dip into the money that we have set aside as savings, because I keep that recorded on a completely separate piece of paper, what we have for savings. And then I always try to make sure there's enough left in the balance to cover us for another whole month, just in case anything happens. So that's how I look at that. And the reason there's two of these is because this is the first half of the month. This is the second half of the month. This way I can keep track. The first half of the month, the second half of the month, I do my figures here. So now let me talk a little bit about how I utilize this system when it came to when we finally said, okay, it's time to get completely out of debt. The last thing we have is our house. We only owed $50,000 on it at the time. And I say only, when it's funny because when we first got this place, the purchase price was $45,000. But then we ended up adding on this big, huge room after my second son was born, because my dance classes had grown so big that we just needed more space. We need a better floor than just some kind of carpet over concrete kind of surface. And it wasn't concrete. It was actually a subfloor built over concrete. There used to be a garage here. And, the family that had owned this before had turned the garage into a family room, put a subfloor over the concrete, without a proper foundation or anything, and there's just floor of that. Well, because we expanded this room out to twice the size it once was, we needed to take everything out and put a foundation in. So that was a pretty big job. That was like buying another whole house plus. So from there, obviously we had to refinance, that brought our loan up. And then we had a couple of big purchases we did along the way, like getting a camp trailer. And when Pat bought his first heavy machinery, and it was used like all of his heavy equipment, which was the backhoe and the dump truck, we refinanced everything and just put everything into one loan. And so that's why it kind of, in our 34 years of marriage, we still had, by that point, we've been out of debt for I want to say 10 years now. I think it's been right at 10 years. So that's why we still had that remaining, was the refinancing and the adding on and so on. So I just want to get you to understand what that is. But it was the only loan we had left. All our cars were paid off, and we decided, let's crack down. We had already kind of been getting into more preparedness and putting food up, but we decided the most important thing we needed to do was get ourselves completely out of debt, and that would then free up some money. So we sat down with a game plan, and using my little system here, what I did, already having some food storage at that time, we decided it might take us 2 years to do this, but I think we can do it in 2 years. And I remember thinking that might be a bit of a stretch, but we were hoping we could even push it back to maybe a year and a half, something like that. I still can't remember the exact numbers, but so what I did was I really started cracking down, and we had more bills than this at that time, obviously. And so what I did was, for groceries, I only allotted us $200 a month for food and other types of regular consumable groceries. That was $50 a week. And I was very, very strict about it. So then on a separate piece of paper, we'd go to the store once a week, and on on that piece of paper, I'd keep my grocery list of must-have things, and it couldn't go over $50. And so I stuck very, very strictly to that. And we cut out all extra things. We didn't go out to eat. We didn't go on trips. We didn't do anything extra. We didn't go to the movies. We didn't rent movies. We didn't do any of that. So, and then as we went along, we kept finding more and more things that we could cut so that then we could take all the money that we were saving by sticking to a very strict amount and just piling it onto the principal of the house. So having a budget to stick to and being very, very strict on that was what helped us get out of debt within, I think it only took us a year. And in that year, and I have a video that we did back in 2018, I think it was, that it was part of a collaboration with Living Traditions Homestead, and I'll link to that down below because I'll have the dates and the number, the time frame a little bit better. I should go back and watch it myself so I know the exact time frame, but all I know is that we paid it off 6 months ahead of our goal, sticking to a strict budget. And I was shocked. And because I didn't think our original goal, I didn't think we were going to be able to do it. I was thinking this sounds impossible, but let's go ahead and set that as our goal and try for it. So not only did we meet that goal, we surpassed that goal by getting there even quicker. So it was really liberating. I was actually making 2 payments a month so that I could get us payments ahead, plus putting extra on the principal. So the reason I did it that way was because if some kind of tragedy hit during this time as we were trying to get ourselves out of debt, I didn't want to just keep piling money only onto the principal, but then still have these regular payments. So that way, if something bad happened, I knew that we were at least X amount of payments ahead on the house so that we had plenty of time that we could just not have to worry about paying on the house. And same thing, and this is why I got ahead on our public water and public electricity, was so for the same reason. And I just keep it that way, just in case. It's just another way to be prepared. I know some people don't agree with the idea of the public utilities kind of having your savings for you, but it's more than just that. It's so that if you forget, like, you have a death in the family and things are crazy and you're not paying attention to your bill and you simply forget, then they can't just come shut your electricity and water off because you're paid ahead. And because here was something that happened before I started doing this, and this was one of the catalysts too that got me into staying ahead on water and electricity, was that 1 month, so silly, I must have had a lot on my brain, and I used to have instead of this counter that Patrick built in these cabinets, I used to have my desk for dance and martial arts was sitting here. And, it was where I do, keep track of my enrollment and stuff like that. And I often would go, maybe write out my checks and stuff from the other room, doing my bills. And then I'd come through here a lot of times and walk out the sliding glass door here and just go out to the mailbox and stick my stuff in the mailbox. Well, 1 month, I wrote out the check for the public utility. I wrote out a separate check for the water. I had these in envelopes all stamped and ready to mail. And I walked through here, must have got distracted. And instead of making it all the way out to the mailbox, I stuck it in a drawer and forgot all about it. And I couldn't figure out why the next month I got these 2 bills saying that we were behind and, this warning, that if you don't pay this by X, we're going to come shut you off. And I'm like, I know I paid these. So I wrote out new checks, got them sent off immediately. And I don't know how long later it was that I was looking for something in the desk and I opened up the drawer and there were those 2 envelopes. I had indeed written the checks. I just never got them in the mailbox. So now, always being ahead, I don't have to worry about that happening. And there's been months where I'm just like, nah, I'm far enough ahead. I'm just going to take that money and I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put it towards putting more meat in my freezer or getting more stuff to build up my garden, whatever it is I need, or some fencing to keep the chickens out of my garden, or whatever it is I need to do. And I have the freedom to do that because I'm paid ahead on those bills. And then again, keeping a real strict track of what I'm spending my money on is really important. And then at the end of the year, when I do my taxes, another nice thing about using the credit card for doing a lot of our purchasing is that everything is itemized in. I can just go print off all of my sheets at the end of the year and then highlight every business expense and then categorize it. And that makes it so much easier than me keeping a whole bunch of teeny tiny receipts. I hate that. I used to do that for my dance and martial arts business, and I hated this pile of receipts where this is just nice, neat, and clean. And so that's why I know a lot of people are against credit cards, and I understand it, but that's why for having a business, a credit card is nice. So not only can we earn sometimes, several $100s a year from using our credit card, I also have everything itemized for me so that it just makes my life so much easier at the end of the year when I do my taxes. So, and I do my own taxes as well. That's something else I learned how to do along the way, so that's somebody else I don't have to pay. I still had to buy the TurboTax, but it's cheaper than paying somebody else to do my taxes for me. So I hate the job. I hate doing it, but it's worth it for me to do it myself. So just a few pointers. Anyway, like I said, I wanted to answer that question. And if there's any other questions you have on that, and any other tips you want to know on how we got out of debt, don't forget to go check out that video and that we did, where Living Traditions did one and we did one. So it was a collaboration. So I believe I linked to their video in my description, so you can go watch theirs as well. And, the more you learn, and everybody's going to have their own way of doing it. And so I think if you're still in debt, or even if you're just trying to figure out better ways to save money, you can learn a lot of tips just through real people, because everybody's going to have their own way, and you got to apply what's going to work for you. There's not just one right way to follow to get yourself out of debt. It's about the actual getting out of debt, and how you get there is going to be up to you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.